Hi Grace Quotes, it's Pastor Craig filling in for Pastor Randy. A.W. Tozer, in his book The Knowledge of the Holy, says this: what comes into our mind when we think about God is the most important thing about us. I think this comes into play when we think of the area of forgiveness. Jesus says that if you have been forgiven, you should be able to forgive. Those who have been forgiven much should be able to forgive much. Peter said, how many times should we forgive? And Jesus says 70 times 70. Really saying an infinite amount. You've been forgiven much, therefore you ought to forgive. I think of the story of the prodigal son, and quite often we forget about the older son who was very upset when the father forgave the repentant younger son. He stood out of the father's house and was very angry. Would he forgive? Would he accept the father's heart, or would he stand outside? And the father goes running to him as he ran to the prodigal son and said, "It was right and it was fitting for me and us to bring him back in." And I think when we think of the idea of forgiveness, are we going to take on the Father's heart and forgive those who repent, just as we have been forgiven of God? It's true. What A.W. Tozer says is absolutely true. What comes into our mind when we think about God, when we think of his forgiving heart, is the most important thing about us.